Coming up, we are here for the big one. We are going to be talking about the culmination leading up to the Avengers, the battle in New York, and the aftermath. This is the Sacred Rewatch. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sacred Rewatch. This is a momentous occasion for us. And as we are filming this, we have just had our first video hit over 1,000 views, and now we're at 400 subs. So I just want to remind all our supporters out there, if you're following us on Instagram, make sure you take a look, because I made an important announcement on there, that if we hit 1,000 subs on YouTube before 4th of July, we will be doing a giveaway. Now, I haven't told anybody about this, what we're giving away. So, well, I am very happy to announce that the giveaway item is in my hands right now.
Meet and greet.
So if you subscribe to the channel, you have a chance to win a signed copy from the whole TSR crew. The Marvel Cinematic Universe official timeline book.
What?
Wow.
I'm hitting that the entire timeline in here.
Wow.
All of our signatures will be right here.
Hell yeah.
So don't forget to subscribe.
That's fire.
So you have a chance to win that wonderful book. So you can read along while we do this podcast. All right, I'm not going to do a whole spiel today because we have a lot to talk about. So if you like Disneyland, use Effortless Expeditions. We're moving on. My name is Ethan Bronson. I am your host for your show. Starting out, I am joined by Wyatt.
Let's go!
Carson.
Avengers assemble.
Austin.
Where is my shawarma?
Andreas.
What's good, guys?
And it's just tradition at this point, Brody.
Carson stole my line.
Oh.
How's everyone's weeks going?
Good.
Fantastic, Ron.
Amazing.
Great.
Awesome. Well, it feels like an awful long time since we've met each other last, but it's only been 1 week. But for some reason, this feels particularly long. It feels like I haven't seen you guys in a month. But I'm excited to get into today's episode. So before we go into our scores for the Avenger, I just want to go over everything we've watched to this point. Hold on. I am having a little bit of an issue.
Blood forgot to pull up his teleprompter.
No.
Blah.
All right. Sorry, guys. So before we get into our scores of the Avengers, I just want to go over everything that we've watched to this point. So I'm just going in timeline order. So our story begins in the year 965 AD. Now you might be wondering why. Well, when Odin and the Asgardians waged war against the frost giants of the Jotunheim. After their victory, Odin hides the Tesseract in a very melancholy place called Earth, or Midgard. So it's buried there for centuries. So our first real hero, 1942, during Captain America, the First Avenger, Johann Schmidt, or the Red Skull, retrieves the Tesseract from a church in Norway. Takes this nice car and just bulldozes the church. He harnesses the fuel of the Tesseract, the blue wiggly woos, for Hydra's weaponry, aiming to reshape the world. But his attempt to wield its full power backfires. The cube opens a portal and banishes him across the universe, and we never see him again. Meanwhile, Captain America misses out on his dance with Peggy and sacrifices himself for millions, crashing into the Arctic.
No.
The war ends, and Howard Stark recovers the Tesseract from the ocean while searching for Steve Rogers. But in the 1940s, as we saw in the one-shot, Peggy Carter helps take down the last few Hydra agents who are hoarding the stolen tech, and Howard Stark approaches her to form an organization called S.H.I.E.L.D. So we don't hear anything from S.H.I.E.L.D. until we watch Captain Marvel, 1995. Reveals the Tesseract is under S.H.I.E.L.D.'s protection from Dr. Wendy Lawson, who's secretly a Kree at the time. She uses it to develop a light-speed engine, and when it explodes, Carol Danvers, or Sophia likes to call it Vers, unlocking her cosmic powers. The Tesseract opens up in the hands, and Goose, the Flurkin, secures the Tesseract under Nick Fury's watch, and Nick Fury loses his eye. That's why he always says he's got his eye on you. We take us to 2010. Iron Man builds a suit of armor in a cave with a box of scraps, and he publicly announces that he is Iron Man, and Nick Fury approaches him about something bigger, the Avengers Initiative. Guys, I'm getting goosebumps just reliving this. Take us to 2011. The Incredible Hulk follows Bruce Banner on the run. S.H.I.E.L.D. is monitoring him, and in the consultant, we learn that the Block, the World Security Council, recruiting Emil Blonsky by sending Tony Stark to botch the negotiation, as we saw. Because when we watched Incredible Hulk, it didn't really make much sense. The consultant cleared it all up. So 2011, later, or shortly after Iron Man 2 shows up, Tony's continued rise in volatility. He's really starting to get powered more by fame than he is money, and we truly see who Tony Stark is. We also get introduced to Black Widow and Nick Fury, and they help him figure out with his weird neck issue and blood issue. Meanwhile, and a funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer.
Why did you say it like that?
Yo, the delay is
Dude,
crazy.
this guy
Wyatt.
is crazy delayed.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment. All right, everybody, sorry for that. We had quite the technical difficulty, but we're back. I'm going to continue what I was talking about. So we were talking about funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer. Coulson casually stops a robbery with some interesting donut choices while en route to New Mexico, where Thor is unfolding. Thor is stripped of all his powers and banished to Earth by Odin. His hammer lands in the desert, creating a local stir where S.H.I.E.L.D. gets involved and investigate. Coulson again oversees the site. Thor proves his worth by getting rid of the Destroyer and returns to Asgard. Just making sure I got that character right. But not before Loki discovers the power of the Tesseract through a glimpse of it in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s possession through a post-credit scene. So we see Eric Selvig brought to S.H.I.E.L.D's not headquarters, but some underground facility. They're talking, and we see Loki appear and influencing Dr. Selvig behind the scenes. So this actually takes us back to the very first movie we watched, Captain America, the First Avenger. The very last part of it, we see Captain America in the middle of Times Square, and he is startled. He's not sure what's going to happen, but Nick Fury approaches him talking about the Avengers. All right, guys, I've done a lot of talking to this point, but I feel like I've given a pretty good recap to this point about what we've all, watched. So, yeah, I think we should just do the grand score reveal at this point, and then let's get talking. I feel like everybody's chomping at the bit to get this going.
Wait, Bron, before we do the score reveal, in your recap, when you said Loki was influencing Selvig, are you talking about in Avengers?
No. In the end credit scene.
Of which one?
Thor.
Thor.
Oh, I don't remember that.
It was the end credit scene when Dr. Selvig's like, or Loki, I think, says it first, like,
In the reflection.
we should have a look or something, and Selvig says the exact same thing.
Oh.
And then they pull out the Tesseract.
Oh, okay.
Carson's a good Sacred Rewatch listener. All right.
Big fan.
Everybody got their scores ready? We'll do it on 3.
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Wyatt, what do you have? And Andreas, what do you have? I can't see.
A perfect 25.
I have a 25. Yeah, dude, this movie's amazing.
Wow.
22.
Crazy.
What? This movie's
22.5.
phenomenal.
So is the lowest score a 19? Is that what I saw?
Wait, hold
Carson,
on.
what happened, man?
Time out.
Yo, I gave it a 22.5. That's very high.
Austin
good.
told me that this movie changed his life, and he gave it a 21.
There's room for improvement, man. We have how many more things to do? 130 different things to watch?
Yeah, I'm going
I
to be
know
talking
there's
about
room
that
for
towards the end of the episode.
I'm just saying, this is gonna change your life.
It changed my outlook on the entire MCU. I've never seen this movie before, dude.
All right, I'm gonna let Wyatt start us off with the beginning of the movie. I have some thoughts about it. I took some notes, but Wyatt giving the prestige 25 out of 25. You start us off.
I love the beginning of this movie. It does a great way of pulling in all of your Avengers. Like at the very beginning, you see all of your characters established. You see Natasha go grab Hulk. Even at the very beginning, very beginning, you see your main villain. You see Loki pop up, comes out of the portal, from the Tesseract. You see Hawkeye within the first 4 seconds. I think it's like the first 4 seconds they go. They ask Selvig goes, the hawk's up in his nest like always. Within 3 seconds, you see Nick Fury, you see Hawkeye, you see Selvig, you see Loki, you see all of your established characters throughout the whole movie at the very, very start. And then and even the part with Iron Man, you see Iron Man within the next scene is Iron Man.
Let me stop you there as you're kind of pondering. I want to talk about the intro to this movie. The subtle hints at the Avengers theme, like every single time I watch this movie, I get goosebumps, like literal goosebumps.
Oh yeah.
And when like stuff's getting serious, and I wrote down a ton of quotes for this movie because I think it is so quotable. When Nick Fury walks in the room and goes, "Talk to me, doctor," like that just fires me up.
What does she say when talking to when she mentions that the world's ending? And I can't remember how he puts it, but he says it so well. He's like, until the Earth stops turning, we're gonna act like it's gonna keep doing as such. Something weird like that. I think it's the way he talks is so amazing at the start of that movie.
Well, and what I really like, because this is kind of like all before the title card pops up. You know, Loki shows up looking menacing as hell. They have that cool shot where he's like javelin in hand, like spearing people. I'm like, dude, this is sick. Like, he's truly a menacing character. I wouldn't say it's a completely different Loki than we saw, but he's kind of under the influence, right?
He does.
I want to talk about
lunges and stuff.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit at the end. We finally see that he's getting in touch with people. And this is kind of the last thing I'll say before I'll let the rest of you guys talk about the intro. When Coulson says, "What will we do?" after the whole headquarters have, fallen apart, and Fury realizes what he needs to do, something he's been building for decades, literal decades, and he like pans off, I get straight chills. And then the Avengers title card. Like, it does not get better. I could watch that millions and millions of times.
It's one of the best title cards in the MCU.
Why didn't anybody warn me that, my character that I'm looking forward to watching for the rest of the universe is gone the next time I watch the movie?
And the last episode, you're talking about Coulson, and Wyatt is like, oh yeah, you're going to see him plenty more times. Like,
what in the world?
Dude, I honestly thought that you had to have known because of the way you were bringing him up. I was like, there's no way he's saying that this is the character he's most excited for.
He's awesome. Well, he was awesome, I guess.
I think it's one of the best title cards in the MCU.
100%.
But like every scene, like even from the start, every scene is like that, where like each scene has a great like beginning, middle, end. So like this feels like an editor's like dream, because every time a scene is like, oh, this is kind of getting boring, or like it just boom straight into the next one, and with that music going through it, it's awesome. But something I forgot from the beginning. Oh, sorry, you can go.
You know about Coulson, I never caught when I was watching it the first time. Rewatching it, paying more attention to him, and Stark is talking about his love with this cellist. It adds more of like an emotional aspect when he dies. Because now when he dies, I'm thinking to myself, like, no, like he was just going to go see like this lover of his, the cellist. And like it just hits harder, like rewatching it and just seeing those little details.
Yeah. Why? Go ahead.
I have a question, and this is up to you, Ethan. Can I spoil Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. since it's not in our timeline or our continuity?
Yeah, I just want to put it out there for the viewer. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not in our direct MCU lineage of canon, right? We're not going to watch it leading up to Doomsday, but whoever is going to join me, we will be watching all 7 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. But why? Go ahead.
Pal.
Okay, Austin, so a little bit of saving grace for you. He's actually not dead.
Huh?
Well,
he's not dead.
In another universe. Another universe.
Yeah.
They like he's alive in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and like the cellist has a whole character, a whole love story, but like he dies and like he's technically alive. They like it's so hard to explain, but he's alive in their show for like 7 seasons.
How? Because it's a different universe?
Well, yeah, it's a different universe.
But it was canon for like 5-6 years. Like it was canon for a while, and then they uncanonized it. So technically, like when this movie came out, afterwards he's technically not dead up until they changed the canon around like Age of Ultron. I don't know. I have no idea when.
Yeah.
Brendan would
So
know.
Brody, I think you know this best. How many levels of clearance are there?
I don't know.
I thought you knew
this.
Level 7.
There's 6,
I didn't know.
but Agent Coulson being alive gets you to level 7 clearance. Just want to put that out there.
Oh, I was thrown off. I thought there was 10. I thought they were
No,
saving
there's,
the 10
there's
for the end
6
credit
levels of
scene
clearance,
kind of stuff.
as we know in the MCU. But in
Interesting.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they revealed that there's 7 levels. And if you get level 7, you realize that Coulson's alive.
Well, they
What level
mentioned
did they
I
say in the
in the
account?
movie. In the
In the
movie, they
accountant,
mentioned the levels, and someone is like, "What's your level of clearance?" And
That
Coulson's
was in the
like,
accountant, wasn't it?
I think he said 6,
"Oh,
Yeah.
but he was lying. So,
Yeah.
I also think Coulson fangirling over Cap with the trading cards was hilarious.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Dude, Cap's
Especially
introduction
after
to this
Thor.
movie is so cool.
It's so good.
Nick Fury talking to the board. I can't remember the exact name of it right now, but like the board of people, and he's like, "We
The
need
World
a
Security
soldier."
Council.
Yeah, the World Security
Yeah.
Council. Thank you, Ethan. We need a soldier, and then it cuts to Cap. And he's like,
Yeah.
it's like
And-
flashbacks in his mind. Oh, it's
Yeah.
so
I love
cool.
the flashbacks because
Mhm.
I remember like watching deleted scenes over the past years that had more Cap, and I was kind of interested going into this because I thought Cap was going to be like way different than he is in First Avenger, and they weren't going to explain it that well because I don't know, that's just what I remembered. But with the flashbacks and stuff, they really do a good job at reminding you what happened in First Avenger.
Yeah, and
Hello.
let me ask you guys this: was that the same scene from Captain America: The First Avenger that they just copy and pasted to the Avengers?
I thought so. All the shots
Yeah.
were the same. The only shot that was different was that shot of him laying there frozen, and they go, "He's still alive" or whatever.
He's still
You
alive.
know
This
that
guy's
shot that
alive.
like quickly pulls
Yeah.
out. That one, yeah.
That's so funny.
But I think all the shots of the plane and stuff were the same.
Hey, were they actively looking for Captain America in the water? Like, how did
No,
they
I think
find
they're
him?
looking
Iron
for the
Man was looking
Tesseract.
for the Tesseract, is what they
Oh.
say.
And they
Or Howard
stumbled
Stark
upon
was?
him.
Howard.
Oh, sorry, wrong Stark. I didn't remember which one. Yeah.
Can we talk about who the Chitauri are? Sorry.
We'll
Well,
get
I
to
got
the
one- I
Chitauri.
got one
We'll
more
get to the
thing.
Chitauri.
One more thing about the beginning scene. I do not remember Nick Fury jumping out of a helicopter. Because that
Oh,
was
yeah.
cool as can be, dude. That was so sick. But and
It
like
was.
all the scenes I remembered being like way faster. Because I was like, oh, this is gonna be an hour and a half movie. They got to get like all the team together really quick. So what I thought was like the first portion of the movie was actually the middle of the movie. Like it takes its time in a really good way, where it keeps its like momentum building really well, and all the connections make really good sense. Like when they're like sending Natasha to go get Banner, that little clip on the screen of her and Hawkeye is like just really quick explanation of like, oh, why she's doing this. All the connections are just amazing.
Something
noticed
I
the
want to
same-
point
oh.
out. Go ahead, Wyatt.
I was going to piggyback on what Brody said. I noticed the same thing. Like looking back on this movie, I remember pausing at one point to go to the bathroom or whatever, and it was like there was only 45 minutes left, and that's like right around when all the shit hits the fan on the helicarrier, and they're all separated. And I was like, wait a minute, they all come together. That I kind of forgot that it's like they all come together right before the final battle, like right there.
Yeah, something I want to point out. You know, this is a rewatch podcast, so I want to tell a story about when I first watched this movie, because this was actually the first Marvel movie I'd ever seen. I watched it with Wyatt. Man, how old were we?
Andreas might have been there too, to be honest.
I
In
think I
theaters?
was.
I think I was 10. I think 10 and 9 respectively. Me, Andreas, and Wyatt were.
This is what I think it
crazy.
was.
The helicarrier, I remember, that was the one takeaway from the movie. I thought that was the coolest thing that I have like ever seen in my life. Like the idea like something can be so creative, and Wyatt, you may be able to tell us this. is the helicarrier is not something from the comics, right?
No, it very much is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Well, I thought they did a fantastic job of bringing it to screen. Very realistic. Anybody else have
I did
thoughts
love
about
the scene.
Yeah, go
I did
ahead.
love the scene on the helicarrier. Like again, this movie has really great little moments. That one shot of Banner goes like, "Oh, this must all be like so new to you or whatever," and then he goes, "No, this is actually pretty familiar." And then he sees the soldiers running by all together,
Mhm.
like in formation, and it's like that's just amazing. Like it's just those little things of like that character's perspective that make you really immersed in the beginning of the movie.
Another huge part in that exact scene is, I think it's just, again, like a huge testament to what this movie does best, is it builds their characters very well for the rest of their MCU. It's that moment where Cap meets Banner, and you can instantly you see the person that Steve Rogers is through and through, beyond the muscles and the Captain America strength. When he goes, "I heard you can help us with this. I heard you can help us find the Tesseract." And he's like, "Is that all you hear?" And he's like, "It's the only thing that mattered to me." Like he doesn't care that you're the Hulk.
Good.
Such
It's
a
just
captain.
it's those little things that this movie does so well from the start. Like Brody already mentioned, just the words of Nick Fury saying Barton's gone rogue or they got Barton was enough to make Natasha drop her mission. Like that's it. Okay, I gotta go help.
And I loved Coulson being on hold and listening to the
Yes.
fight. That one shot mid-fight of him just sitting there on the phone is like
Oh, I love it.
amazing, dude.
Well, another thing that Brody mentioned some deleted scenes about Captain America that they really did remove a lot of in this one, and one that I always remember is it's that scene. It was supposed to happen in the beginning. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. I think Brody and Ethan probably have. It's when Cap goes to have like a coffee outside of Stark Towers, and he actually meets that blonde waitress he ends up saving at the beginning. So it adds another
like
layer to
Jonathan
him kind of
Strange.
saving her. She's also, I think she's the voice of Ellie in The Last of Us games.
Yeah. It's
Which
actually
those are like
Jonathan.
those are like my favorite video games ever. So like that's cool.
shit.
But
I did not know that.
it's so Cap has coffee at this table outside Stark Towers, and all this paparazzi and these fans are here, and they're like, "Oh, are you here to see him?" This is usually when he does his thing, and then he's like, "What are you talking about?" And then it's like Tony Stark does this huge thing where he like jumps down and like does this huge flying around show, and all these paparazzi and fans are watching. And I think what sucks about getting rid of that deleted scene is it really takes away from the duality of Iron Man and Captain America from the start. Here's Captain America, this quiet guy who just wants to have a cup of coffee, and this waitress who he's going to save, just a random civilian who he's going to interact with and just save later on, compared to Tony Stark, who's all about the show off, the loud noises, the face of the Avengers type stuff, being this whole kind of like icon compared to Cap. Where I think that deleted scene really takes away from a big character moment for both of them.
That's
I do
interesting to say
think-
that. I've never seen that in credit scene before. But go ahead, Brody.
It's not an end
I
credit scene;
do
it's just a
think
deleted scene.
Oh, deleted scene, my
that
bad.
watching it
There you go.
in this chronological order, you do understand, like you do still see some of the remnants of the comparison, because obviously the end of the movie is a big comparison between the two, where he gets closer to being similar to Cap, but especially with the phone call. But in the beginning of the movie, the first thing that he does when he lands is he says, "Oh, I can't answer. I've got a date." So he's prioritizing. It just reminded me of that date line from First Avenger. So it was like, oh, so like that's the difference. Is Cap has none of these things, and Stark does have some of them. It's not as stable, but I thought that first line of him saying, "Well, I can't do that. I got a date," and prioritizing that was a really interesting comparison between the two, going from
And it
First
all
Avenger.
builds up to kind of like that big kind of like first big Cap Iron Man headbutt right there in that like study lab room, which I love that whole part. The whole put on the suit, let's go a couple rounds.
Yeah.
And, it all happens. He goes, put on the suit. He's like, yep. And he like helps him up and he like pushes him
yeah.
along. I think
Dude,
it's a
but
great
in
moment.
that scene in the laboratory, Stark really starts to piss me off. Just like, dude, that's when the arrogance and like his just like cockiness, like in the previous movies, in his solo Iron Man movies, I thought it was great. I thought it was like funny, like he's kind of messing with everyone. But then when he starts like disrespecting Cap, I'm like, dude, that pissed me off. And especially when he was like, when he was like, "There's two things. Like one of us is in like a Stars Spangled Banner suit, and one of us is useless." When Stark was telling Cap, and I was just thinking, like, dude, Stark, he could you up. All you have is the suit. Like Cap will up man to man with no suit. Oh shoot, I just said that.
There's a lot of bleeping there.
Language.
One thing I want to point out, I don't know if any of you guys noticed this. When Tony was on the helicarrier, did you guys see what shirt he was wearing?
No.
No.
It is something.
He was wearing a Black Sabbath Iron Man shirt. I thought that was a cool
Really?
nod.
Yeah,
No. That's cool.
that was cool.
I think another, before we leave this subject real fast, that moment where like they're talking about the suit, it also shows that like they're both still know that when it's time to like when people's lives are at stake, they know to put their I want to put their dicks away. They need to put their shit to the
Differences
side.
aside, yeah.
And just kind of like, all right, it's time to stop being little boys and let's go save people. So like I like that part too. It really shows that they know kind of when to lock in.
And when it was Loki's plan to like tear them apart from the inside, I felt like Stark was like doing that as much as Loki. When Stark was like, hacking the mainframe and like super suspicious about everything, and he was like telling all of them like, "Oh, you're not suspicious" and whatever. Then he leads Cap to go look and find some Hydra stuff. He leads like everyone to like. So I thought Stark, as much as Loki, was like tearing them apart.
Using the Avengers' emotions against one another is a very strong theme throughout these Avengers movies going forward.
Yeah.
Austin, let's talk about the Shield's intentions here for a little bit. And Austin, what are your thoughts on this?
Like Shield as a corporation or Shield's people?
Both. Also, Cap's discovery that they've got old Hydra gear in the helicarrier.
I think that makes sense. I think it was good that Cap went and looked for everything. I mean, it makes sense that they want, weapons, like very strong weapons. I mean, if we jump towards the end of the movie where the world board goes a little crazy and decides to, nuke New York, I mean, I think SHIELD as a corporation's not very good, but Nick Fury, I mean, he's got good intentions. I think they're all just trying to not let the world implode.
I love that quote by Fury too, and he was like, "I know you made a decision, but it's a stupid ass decision."
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
That is a great quote. And another great quote around this time of the movie. That man is playing Galaga. It's just such a good line.
Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
Thought we wouldn't notice,
Then
but we did.
and he keeps playing later when Stark walks out.
Something else I really liked, which I think kind of makes us wonder a little bit more about Natasha, was Loki and Natasha's back and forth dialogue. I thought was excellent, right? Because you're thinking, oh, Natasha's getting played here, right? And then she goes, oh, wait, that's your ploy, Banner. And they get him locked up, right? And then Banner's all pissed because he's like, well, I'm not a threat to you guys. But Loki mentions Dreykov's daughter, right? It's kind of the first we've heard of Natasha's backstory. We don't really hear more about it. We learn a little bit more about Natasha. We learn a little bit more about Clint once he, recovers. But I just thought that was interesting because for when we watched the whole MCU the first time, as stuff came out, we were always very curious about what Black Widow's backstory was. So I just thought that was an interesting thing. Specifically, Hospital Fire, talking about what she regrets. Maybe subtle nods to what we'll see in the future. I don't know.
I love how sassy Loki is throughout this whole movie.
Oh, so good.
Like he's such a diva. Oh, I love it. It just works so well. He comes out of the portal all sweaty, like looking as androgynistic as possible, and he's just like giving snappy responses to everyone and just belittling every single person he can bump into. Even when he goes talks to like his weird like 10-finger friend who's like clicking against the wall. Like I hate that guy. He's even giving him a hell attitude.
Did you say 10 fingers?
Like he really is just a pissed off younger brother.
12-finger
And
guy?
Thor.
Oh, I thought he said 10.
And then when Thor
He did.
gets there, did I say 10?
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's
My bad. The weird guy with 10 fingers.
right.
And then even when Thor's just grilling him for pretty much being just a shitty. Sorry for all the swearing. I gotta watch it. For being a punk little brother. Like he's just when they're in the woods, he's just like, dude, stop acting like this. Like it's time to grow up, Loki. Like you're just being a little kid.
And I think a lot of that, watching this in order again, is you kind of see it parallel the start of Thor, where he's like, you're going to another planet and you're starting something that we shouldn't be involved in. So he's kind of doing what he should have done himself in the first movie, which is pulling himself out of that situation, bringing it back to Asgard and dealing with it there. So I really love Thor's introduction in this movie.
It really shows the maturity between the two characters and the differences they've both gone. Like how
And he
Thor
kinda
really has
overcome
matured
that.
as a leader, and how Loki's fall to kind of becoming this villain.
Something else I want to point out, which I kind of forgot to mention earlier, which is more about the lore of the MCU. Not as much the lore, but maybe the physics of the MCU. I don't know if this is going to make sense, but it is such an important moment when Mjolnir hits Cap's shields, right?
Jonathan.
You have two differing elements and two differing like weapons right at each other, and you can see that it just has this ridiculous effect, right? But it's believable, right? Because I think we all wondered up to this point, like, what is going to happen if, something like Mjolnir, which is supposed to be for, someone who's worthy, and vibranium, which we've seen really just in Cap's shield to this point. So I think that's cool.
I love the fight in the park.
Yeah, what's Mjolnir made out of? Do we know? Do we ever find out?
Dwarf star alloy.
Like a star, yeah.
And anybody else have ideas about the middle of the movie, their thoughts?
When they did the Hawkeye, when he like brought his bow and arrow out, the sound was so good.
Yeah.
Well, dude, Clint Barton in general, this movie is such a badass.
Yeah.
Like, talk
He was
about a
evil longer
character.
than I remembered. I
Yeah,
didn't remember him being evil for that long in the movie. I thought it was just
dude,
the
he was
beginning.
evil up until like the last 35 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. No, that's great.
So that thing that Loki was using, what that
scepter.
wasn't the Tesseract though, right?
No, it's the scepter.
No, it's not. It's a scepter.
It's
So-
that's
wait,
like
I thought
probably
the scepter
most
was a part of the
confusing
Tesseract.
No,
No, it's
what I
not.
thought.
I think
We
that's
can't-
one of
we
his
can't
biggest
really-
mistakes.
we
can't
can't
really talk-
we can't talk about it too much.
But no, it's
We'll
the
find
scepter
out
of the
later, but-
Tesseract.
It's the scepter.
That's all I can
But
say.
Austin, at the beginning of the movie, right? It's the Chitauri. That's that montage talking about Earth and humans are these despicable beings, and you kind of get the idea that he's talking to somebody. Well, Loki had to have gotten the Chitauri army from somewhere, so it's kind of an exchange that happens. We'll talk about the end credit scene in a little bit. The rolling shot of the six of them having that argument was so good, and the foreshadowing in that movie, not just for this movie, but for the future, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
Also, I want to ask, I feel like Thor can easily win every fight he's in by just simply placing the hammer on the person's body when they're on the ground. Like he did to Loki, and then just go over there and just start kicking him in the face or something. Dude, that's an unstoppable move that he never does in his fight with Tony Stark and Captain America. He never does that.
One would say Thor is the god of hammers.
Yeah.
One would say
No.
Oh, I get it.
that. Why do you get it?
Isn't it because he's a drunk guy in the next few
okay.
movies?
I just wanted to
No,
make sure.
no,
you were talking about-
no.
Oh, okay.
When
Bad
when
Thor.
Hawkeye gathers this group of people to invade the helicarrier, who are those people? He says Shield has a lot of enemies.
Yeah.
I
Is
would
this
say
a
just
ton
other
of,
Shield agents.
Are they Shield agents that gone rogue? I figured there's a few Hydra guys in there too.
Yeah, I was about to say that, but I didn't want to get to that because I don't know how you said.
No, I don't know. Well, he just said that they just said that he has Shield has enemies. So I don't know.
I just thought it was just a bunch of random terrorists.
Well-
And I just
well,
didn't
It's
I-
probably that. It's probably that too.
But isn't when Loki's going around and gets Clint with the scepter, he hits on another couple people, right?
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
Dr. Selvig goes, "Where'd you find all these people?" And Clint
So
says
he was there.
Shield has a lot of enemies.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all they say to like this army that they've kind of set up in those tunnels.
Oh, I didn't even catch
Yeah.
that.
Just a bunch of
I was
terrorists, man.
curious. That's what I think. I think else is right.
I think it could be Hydra people too.
Yeah.
Makes you kind of wonder about the future of Shield, right?
Well, I think that's the other great thing about this movie is it has the levels. You got Nick Fury, and he's kind of pushing the bounds, but he's trying to do what's right, and that's the same with Coulson and Maria. And then you have that council inclusion, which we didn't know about the council before. I don't think we even got it mentioned in the account or anything. But their inclusion of like, oh, there's people above Nick Fury that can totally go haywire and do whatever they want above him stopping it.
And I think it's very much implied too about the lighting of the World Security Council, right? They're all
Absolutely.
backlit,
Yeah.
so you can't really see any of their faces.
They're very obviously lit like the enemy. Like that's how you light your bad guy in your movies.
Yeah.
And
One thing that stood
sorry.
out to me in this movie is I feel like every what I would consider a solo scene, which is what I would consider one of our main Avengers interacting with a non-Avengers character, they are all so powerful in building to their character. Like those scenes with Nick Fury interacting with the World Security Council. All those scenes do is just build and build and build on how like Fury's morality and his ethics outweigh everything. And there's that scene where Bruce Banner gets flung off the jet and lands as the Hulk in that abandoned warehouse. And he's talking to that guy, and all he's asking him, like, did anyone get hurt? Like, is everyone okay? It's all those, every little scene that's about a character interacting with anyone else is just such a good job at building to their story.
And with Clint, when he comes back from being under the scepter and he's like, how many did I kill?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's that
Yeah.
weird, like, very 2010, like, hazy lighting out of nowhere. All of a sudden, he's, like, looking around all, like, delirious.
and I think the set pieces to like a great benefit in this movie is they always have a different background or setting. Like when Black Widow's first introduced and it has like the chain thing and they drop to the second floor, or you have Banner in like this completely different location. And I think that's the other thing about these little moments is like they don't overuse the council. They don't overuse any of these places. The helicarrier is more of a backdrop and there's different rooms, so that doesn't get boring because you're more like, oh, I want to feel like this is a real thing because we saw the giant CGI outside thing, so the insides really help make that like believable. But I think, and like same with the Thor fight in the beginning, that just being in the forest or catching Loki at that one place where he rips the eye out, it's just constantly changing set pieces, so it just doesn't get boring.
Also,
Are we gonna
guys,
talk?
oh,
We keep
go
talking
ahead.
about Bruce Banner. Are we gonna talk about Mark Ruffalo at all?
I was literally about to bring that up. I was about
Yeah.
to say that. I could not.
It's awesome.
Could never ever imagine moody ass Edward Norton in that scene where they're like talking about the scepter and all that. And he just would not fit. Like the role he was trying to take with the Bruce Banner in his movie was not working in an Avengers movie. And I think it is so obvious in this movie from the recast.
Yeah, he's not like a nerdy type.
Did he wear glasses in Hulk?
He did for one scene. He puts him on to read a bottle at the very beginning, and then everyone's again.
Gotcha. Mark Ruffalo pulls him off, dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Yeah, he
got
fits
his
such a
glasses.
way
Such a
better.
good character.
But also, guys, you know how Hawkeye had to be like taken out of his little phase under the scepter by Black Widow? Selvig just like naturally comes out of it. Do you think that was because of like how prolonged it was? Like it was way later, so like it kind of died out? Or because like his own willpower? I mean, I would think Clint has a higher will than Selvig, but Selvig just like snaps out of it when he's with I think Black Widow when they're up there on the building.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
I got no answers, man. I don't know.
Carson, answer.
I'm
Yeah,
just
plot.
guessing. Yeah.
Plot, I think, would be the reason.
Carson's face.
I don't know. I can't think of any other reason.
I mean, yeah, I don't think they really give any reason to it to us outside of speculation. But I think, I mean, at the end of the day, it makes sense for writing.
I think
I
it's
don't
just
think
'cause
they
he's
want
not a
Black
threat.
Widow roundhouse kicking Dr. Selvig in the face, like to knock
Just
him
'cause
out.
he's not a threat,
But,
you know what I mean? Like Hawkeye,
yeah.
they have to keep like, oh, this is like a problem. Like you can't get him out of that.
I think if
Selvig, it's, like,
anything,
more a real issue.
I think if anything, the stronger willpower probably kept Hawkeye in it for longer.
But also there was
Marvel
that
Soldier.
fight
Like,
between Black Widow and Hawkeye, and he was like, he looked at Black Widow and was like, Natasha, and then she just like punches him.
Well, she punched him again because she was pissed off at him. I think a part of it goes to like Hawkeye probably has stronger willpower, so he takes longer to get him out of this like trance state. Like he's a strong individual. You have to knock him out. Whereas Dr. Selvig, it's you can really startle him into like you can startle his system into like resetting in a way. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, but also Selvig builds in like a little backup emergency while he's under the impression of the scepter, which is kind of crazy.
What do you
Hey,
guys think
Ethan,
about?
oh, wait.
Was that more of a writing tool, or do you think like there is some like headcanon to that?
Which part of it? His
I think
snapping
there's
out of it?
headcanon.
Selvig creating this backup for the portal.
I think there's a headcanon because I know we see themes like that all throughout, not just the comics but the MCU. This idea that like even under mind control, you can always kind of find your true self deep down in there. I have a really quick off-topic question, Ethan. This one was the first Avengers. This one was directed by Joss Whedon, right?
Yep.
And then he was supposed to do the other couple, and then he had some huge falling out, like with Marvel.
He did the next Avengers movie, didn't he?
He did Age of Ultron too.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I
so.
think it's the Russo brothers for Age of Ultron.
No,
Someone
No, because
Google it.
Russo brothers didn't get brought on until Winter Soldier.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm looking up Age of Ultron
Well,
right now.
I like Joss Whedon.
It
Joss
was-
Whedon did a
it
show
was-
called Firefly. Shout out
Joss Whedon
Firefly
did
if
Age of
anyone-
Ultron.
He did? Okay. Never mind then. I think he's like
something.
I don't want to say nothing to slander no his name, but I think he's like hella racist. And that's why they dropped him or something crazy like that. He did something bad, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I mean that's kind of a administrative tone for the rest of the for
Racism?
building the MCU was, you know, you have Ike Perlmutter, who was a serious problem for Marvel.
Austin, you hear what I'm hearing?
Yeah,
You saying
what?
that
I'm so confused. What are you talking about?
Are you talking about racism?
Well, you saying
I'll
racism
give-
is a prominent factor in the MCU?
No, let me explain. Ike Perlmutter,
okay.
for those who did not know, was the president of Marvel Studios while this was being developed, and that is a big reason of why we never got a Black Widow movie earlier in development.
What?
And
Wait,
he was
why?
he was
He's a
he was
POS?
he was heavily against a Black Widow movie. He was very against a Black Panther movie. He said nobody would go to a Black Panther movie, and he was very against Captain Marvel.
Wow.
Dude, that Black Panther movie, I think, is like the
Women?
first only Marvel movie to like win an Academy Award.
Bad guy.
So really?
Let me finish
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
thought real quick on Ike Perlmutter. So when Ike Perlmutter got kicked out, that's when, you know, Kevin Feige was a producer on these movies, but he wasn't in charge. When Ike Perlmutter left, Kevin Feige finally took stronghold of the entire Marvel Studios. So that's just a little bit of history.
Dude, everyone on the Sick of Rewatch hates Ike Perlmutter.
F that
I
guy.
hate that guy.
Yeah.
F that guy.
F that guy.
Boo,
guy,
boo,
dude.
Ike Perlmutter.
If we have any listeners out there that's a fan of Ike Perlmutter, they can stop watching.
Yeah,
Or
you can
family.
unsubscribe.
F you too.
Hey, if you're listening and you hate Ike Perlmutter, make sure you hit that notification bell and Hulk smash that subscribe button. We got to hit 500
you.
subscribers. We're so
F and
close.
subscribe.
No,
We don't like
no,
bullies.
1,000
A thousand.
I swear.
1,000.
1,000 subscribers. We need 1,000
F
subscribers.
myself then.
I was
Dude.
gonna say something about Selvig.
Don't swear. Yeah, for the. Sorry, what were we talking about? For we exposed
Giveaway,
Disney's
giveaway,
corrupt
giveaway,
racism.
giveaway, giveaway.
Giveaway.
Smash that button.
Right.
Okay,
Hey,
all right. To get
Host,
us,
Ron.
to get us,
host, bring us back in. Bring us back in, host.
Ron,
I
All right,
was
all right.
gonna say one
That
thing.
question you asked about the headcanon, what do you mean by a headcanon?
So like it's not confirmed, but do you think like there might
It's-
be a story behind it?
it's like for a way for you to justify why a recasting happened, right?
Oh. Okay.
It's hard to explain right now so early in the MCU for like recastings.
A
I
headcanon?
have some theories myself, but
I'm trying to think of a
That's-
headcanon to give Andreas for like Harry Potter.
Yeah. That would help.
Like a headcanon is something that they never really touch on it in the show, and there's no real need to. It's just something fans kind of tell themselves in their head to make themselves feel better in a way.
We can like speculate on things that are not
Yes.
explained. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
it
if
just
they,
makes
like-
sense in the show, and there's no harm or foul for it not to be true. So it's canon in your head, and you just pretend it's true because it doesn't really matter. Like a headcanon for me is that a headcanon for a lot of people is that Daredevil just takes place in the MCU, and they just never interact with each other whatsoever. Like there's little hints in Daredevil that it takes place enough for people just to believe with no real science whatsoever. It's just canon in your heads because there's no harm or foul otherwise. That's a headcanon example.
Okay, that makes sense.
If that's a good one, I hope that makes sense.
But since we were talking about Selvig, I was gonna say, watching all these movies together, it seems like everything pretty much correlates. But I was really surprised that there wasn't Jane, because I know that Selvig's the main scientist, but I would think as an explanation of like them getting Thor here and them getting Loki introduced and stuff to these people that don't know him, I was like really surprised that Jane just wasn't on the team. You know what I mean?
I feel
that
like
guy.
it was
But there
so
were-
obviously a Natalie Portman being busy at the time of the movie issue.
That's what I was thinking. I was like,
Because it's
either
quite
that
literally,
or-
they show her on screen and go, oh yeah, she's busy over there really far away. That's like, what? Like, what?
right.
Yeah.
That's what I think. At
Yeah,
least.
that's an example of headcanon. Like you just trying to create
Yes.
some reasoning of why she's not involved.
Right.
Maybe it was
Rather-
that guy Ike didn't want to bring another female actress in.
Uh,
to the movie.
Very well could be possible.
Could have been.
That might be just,
You got to put
that
that
might
your
be
canon
a
right
lot of
there.
money.
2012.
Right.
We got to get to the Battle
okay.
of New York. We haven't even talked about it at
All right.
all.
Yeah.
All right, so the Chitauri come in. You really start to see that they're. From the impression that I take, it's not necessarily that they're an army. It's more of like these creatures, and they might have some type of sentience. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Life form. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have some type of conscience, but very much in the beginning, you think that this is some type of animal, and then you see like this militarized space worm come out from the sky, and you're like, oh, excuse my language, but the Avengers are.
Yeah, the host is swearing. Yeah.
And so you're like, dude, what are we gonna do?
Right.
And
I
well,
love. Oh, wait. What I think is so well is it is such a huge upgrade in severity to anything these characters have faced, and they know it, and you can see it in their face. Like, I'm not gonna
While
do
Tony
something
Stark
silly.
is like flying around, he's like, I'm still trying to process what's happening
Right.
and fighting.
Or right after that
everything.
assemble, when they look up and they see all the different ships, like more showing up.
But yeah, what I was saying was these people. I'm echoing really bad through someone's thing.
Yeah, me too.
No, I can hear
hear that.
It's
I think
I
that's
think it's
Ethan.
Carson.
Or
It's
Carson.
coming through Carson's. It's
It's
coming through
Ethan.
Carson's monitor. Oh, it's him.
Okay. All right. Well,
Just keep going. Okay, sorry. I'll see what I was saying. So yeah, all of these Avengers, like the biggest thing Tony Stark's faced up to this moment is just someone else in his suit. The biggest thing that Hulk's faced is just another Hulk. All of a sudden, these Avengers are faced with a whole army of creatures from outer space. And all when Ethan talk about the creatures, I know Andreas will recognize this, but all of my Halo fans, they are so obviously as a kid reminding me of the Coven from Halo. Like, dude, the Chitauri, no, that's an elite. Like, I'm not. What are you talking about? Those are this is the Coven coming from Reach
Right.
to destroy.
Yeah.
This is the start of Halo. So I always got huge because especially when those came out as a kid, like I was like 12, I was playing the Halo games. I always
even
thought there
like
was so
the
much
guns.
inspiration. Even the
Dude,
guns
they're
look like Halo
weapons.
weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah. And normally,
I don't
like,
know if the Chitauri are in the comics at all. I don't like read the comics for all you listeners, but it's just it very much always reminded me as the Halo guys from the when I was a kid.
But I was gonna say, like, normally having like such disposable, like villains like that is a problem. But the character focus throughout the whole movie, like the Avengers, like relations to each other, in their conversations and stuff, like it's totally fine to have disposable enemies like this. You know what I mean? And I think them not talking as much and being more creature-like is amazing, because even, well, obviously in the continuity watch we already have the Kree and Captain Marvel and all that, but at the time we hadn't stepped fully into space other than Asgard, so we didn't know. Like even the Frost Giants are pretty civilized. We didn't really see many houses and stuff, but like they could talk and stuff. So to see something like really kind of like monsterish, you know what I mean?
I mean,
Two
what
big
was
things.
Loki's plan with all of
Two-
it? I don't understand.
Two big things that link
Well,
to what
that's
Brody
been
says
Thor.
before we get off
He
it.
wanted to take America.
Well, Austin, that's why Thor was like.
Wait, real quick, Andreas.
Okay,
Before we get off Brody's things, two quick things. I think what's so big for that huge fight scene at the end is we have never really seen these guys truly use their powers as a team at all. So it's awesome to see this whole 45 minutes of fighting because we've been wanting it for so long. We see it, and I think a good part about the Chitauri being these animals who can't speak, like this nameless villain, is there's no morality in question whatsoever to our heroes beating them up. Thor can smash one with a hammer, and Iron Man can rip two of their arms off and fight two more with it, and you wouldn't question it whatsoever because they're just coming down and destroying people. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Whatever you guys are, go back to what
amazing.
you were saying, Andreas. Before I
Well,
interrupted.
Austin asked what was Loki's plan with all this, and that's what Thor is questioning too, because he's like fighting Loki on Stark Tower, and is like, look at this madness. Like, you think you're gonna be able to rule after all this chaos, and Loki's like, I think he realizes he messed up, and
Well,
he's
and then
like,
he stabbed
too
him.
late.
Right.
Yeah,
He stabbed
man.
Thor.
Yeah,
He's doing that. He just
So
be doing
good.
that, dude.
just crashing
but then
out.
This is
dude.
nod to like
He's just a villain.
there's like a deal. You know what I mean? Like you see
I
that
think-
Loki must have some deal with these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
I don't
talk
know
about it
if
when he goes
Ethan's
in
gonna
there,
get
like,
mad at
oh,
me for bringing this up, but like you come
bring it
to
up.
find out that like the Chitauri are a joke in the universe. Like it's not much of a. It's
We'll
not
keep
much
it
of a,
at that.
Wow.
It's just like one line. It's only a joke line in a movie that's months away.
And
I
it's
won't
not.
talk about it.
why-
I won't
it-
talk about it. I won't talk about it. I won't talk about it.
This is the last thing I'll say on this, and then we're gonna move on. It's not just a line; it's a line in a deleted scene.
Is it really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't. I can't bring it up in a deleted scene.
Yeah. We're not talking about it. We're moving on.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Braun, you brought up the sentient of the Chitauri.
Yep.
So I don't think they do have any sentiency because when the bomb, Tony Stark sends the missile up there, they all die at once, like their computer programs.
Oh yes.
Well, they're a
Brody.
hive mind.
So
Brody. What does
I
that
don't-
scene remind you of?
Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Bingo.
Anakin Skywalker flies up,
That's
blows
exactly
up the
what I
Luthor
think
Hall.
of.
All the droids shut down. Jar Jar's like,
Who's that flyer?
what's going on? Right? That's one of ours or whatever they say. But like, it's
I
totally
think it's,
reminded
they're
me
like
of
a hive mind. You know, you blow up the mothership, they all die. Kind of a huge flaw, you
that.
know,
Oh,
in
Phantom
your
Menace, dude.
choice of army,
Well,
Loki.
not
That was a good
not
call.
just the Chitauri, but their weapons. Right later that we find out.
Yeah.
But no.
except for
I
Benny.
just-
Shout out
yeah,
Benny.
I was gonna.
We'll talk about that once we're done with the Avengers. But I
Okay,
just want to put that
alright.
out there.
Can we talk about
okay.
how Hulk pulled up to the fight scene
Oh.
on a little
The
motorcycle?
best scene,
It was
was
awesome.
sick.
the best line ever.
One thing we jumped over: the use of Coulson's death as this motivator for the Avengers
Oh,
is
yeah.
huge. Because all we've seen, like in I think what's so important is you've seen him and you saw him in Iron Man. Like he's the main reason Iron Man's there. Obviously, Coulson. Obviously, Barton and Natasha have interacted with him forever through Shield. Nick Fury and him are obviously very good friends. We know that because we've seen Captain Marvel. But even when this movie came out, Captain Marvel hadn't come out yet. You still can get that from these other 3 movies that had come out. All of these characters know him individually, and he's kind of this anchor for them all to be here. And it makes his death so much more sad.
I was gonna ask if Austin, when you were watching this movie, were you like, "Oh, he's so dead. Oh, he's got."
I want a
trading
live
cards.
reaction. I want a live
He's
reaction
beating
right
all
now.
these
What happened
people.
when he died?
Reenact it.
Right?
Dude,
Pretend you're
I
watching.
was-
Pretend you're watching your screen, and I'll be Coulson.
Come over.
Dude,
You're not
I-
gonna get away with this, Loki.
I literally was like, "What? What?" I spoke out loud at 5 in the morning when I was watching this. Like, what is going on? It's like it can't be real. He literally could not be dead right now.
And then he's laying there,
I'm-
and I love when he blasts him with the destroyer gun. He's like, "So that's what that does."
Yeah.
I thought he
Kicks
could
the
still be
bucket.
alive until like he actually is like dead. I thought it was really funny when Tony was or when Pepper called Agent Coulson Phil, and then Tony's like, "What? I thought his first name was Agent." I thought it was pretty funny.
Okay.
So-
his
so,
first
like-
name is Agent. That's what you call him.
Yeah,
It's funny.
I
I
like
cannot
how
believe it.
But to Wyatt's point about Fury using Coulson, when he threw like the Captain America cards and they were all like bloody, dude, that really got to me. Like I started tearing up.
Don't keep
I was
I want some of those
Vintage,
cards.
dude.
It's a very impactful scene.
And then we find
And
out
then-
that Nick
yeah,
Fury just took it out of his locker.
Yeah.
So what the heck?
But again,
mean,
that's just more to the character of Nick Fury. Like, oh
Mhm.
wow, okay.
Anything get the
Like,
job
He
done.
is always behind. He's always in the shadows. You know.
Well, and even to putting the Avengers Initiative together in the first place, there was no inclination that the Chitauri were going to be there. No inclination that
Yeah.
Loki was ever going to show up, right? Because he was setting this up before Thor showed up, right? Because when Captain Marvel shows up, that's like, well, there's other people outside of Earth. So for him to have that idea to put the Avengers together, I think just shows his crazy foresight.
They didn't
Because
even
when
know about
in
Loki
Cap-
yet, right? Sorry.
In Captain Marvel, it's the Protectors initiative, and then he changes it to the Avengers after Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
But Brody, Loki, no, I don't think he knew about Loki yet either.
Well, I was gonna say because I don't remember them Shield finding out about Loki. I don't remember if Thor tells Jane at that fire scene. He
Well,
must
okay,
have at
so
some point.
when Loki shows up, he said, "I'm Loki of Asgard," or he says something like
He
he's
says of
right.
Asgard,
And
and
Dr.
Selvig,
Selvig goes, "Thor's brother,"
oh yeah,
because he
And I was
remembers
like,
reading
Selvig-
the book.
Yeah, but say Selvig knows as a child he grew up with those tales.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what you think of this. I love that part of the very, very beginning. Jump back to the beginning when they were walking to the car, and Maria Hill's like, "Who's that?" And Clint's like, "Nothing. I don't know. They didn't tell me. Like, don't worry about it.
You didn't tell me
I don't
his
know who
name.
that is.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know who that is. It's just some
Why-
guy. I don't know."
this is a great transition because that is the first time we've mentioned this character who I think is a very unsung hero. So Maria Hill.
Maria.
Shout out
She's a
Robin.
great
Name,
character in
Andreas?
this movie.
Robin. Shout out Robin.
I always picture her from How I Met Your Mother when I see her now.
I think it's such like a well-written character that, you know, kind of seeps through the MCU and almost takes over Coulson's role. You know,
I would say she's exactly what Phil Coulson was supposed to be.
yeah.
Not
We'll
what's
never
supposed to be.
take his
She
shoes.
just,
But-
she just is the new Phil Coulson. You know.
But doesn't Agent Sitwell fill that role?
Well, yeah. So we
No,
find
he.
So I
would
want to
say-
talk about
well,
that later.
Sorry. I more have meant in terms of not so much the Coulson role in like the universe. I more have meant the in the terms of the movies for us. Like Maria Hill going forward becomes our Shield operative who isn't Nick Fury. I feel like it's very deceptive. Sitwell's like from the one shots, you're gonna think he's gonna show up a lot more. He's only in one more project after this that I can really think of.
The next Avengers?
So like, no,
We'll stop talking
but
about
it's
it.
very yeah. I won't say anymore. But it's very deceptive. The role you think he's gonna have going forward, but it works. Like I think it works. It's very well. It's a good thing they're doing. That's all. I'll
Yeah.
say.
To White's point, I think
Captain
Maria
America.
Hill is a tactical version of Phil, right? You never really see Phil Coulson get in a fight scene until he gets stabbed.
Unless he's in a gas station
You see how it ended
Or
up
he's
for
in a-
him.
or he's in a gas station.
and he'll kick
He's
off
0 for
their
1 in
shovel.
fights. So
So, as we get to the end of the movie, this is something I wrote down. Well, actually, one thing. So when Tony and Loki have this scene in Stark Tower, it's kind of ironic to me that Tony is the first person to like self-proclaim themselves the Avengers. Everybody's been refusing to be a part of the Avengers initiative at this point. They're just a group of ragtags that got together and they're just listening to Nick Fury, right? But Tony's the first one saying, "We are the Avengers," and he finally like feels that team mindset. We have a Hulk. Like he's finally taking ownership that I'm a part of something greater.
Yeah.
Which is shocking for him, right? He's this egotistical guy that he is Iron Man and that nobody's going to get in the way of that. So I just think that's kind of funny. But
Like
and then
you're saying-
follows one of my favorite shoot ups in the whole MCU.
oh yeah,
Is when
The
he gets
best.
thrown out of that window.
100%.
And what's he say to Jarvis? He's like, "Skip the spinning rims. We need this ready in 5 or something like that." When he's making the suit.
Right.
What are you gonna
and
say,
I think-
Brody?
Oh, go ahead, Brady.
What?
That's what
I
we're
was
gonna say?
with Stark, it's just like they do so well with his character and where he's going. I don't want to talk about it, obviously, but like you're saying in the beginning of the movie, he's like, oh yeah, I thought I don't work well with others. That was in my like synopsis or whatever, right? And he was first brought on to. So like you think about like what that conversation with Nick Fury must have been after that end credit scene. You know what I mean? Where he was like, oh, but there's nothing on that scale yet. And at the end of the movie, like you're saying, he really accepts that. But yeah, I don't know. He really gets into protection and focusing on protection, like for civilians and normal people. But I don't want to talk about it too much, but it really does shift his character towards the end of the movie, like you're saying. And I think every character.
I
has
think
a really
one
great
thing
shift.
that's lost, what's lost in the what's lost in the MCU is you don't really realize how much, like how often Tony Stark is being Iron Man outside of these big movies, because they talk about it in Iron Man 3. I guess all I'll say, they talk about it, and you kind of lose sight of like, oh, I guess he really is being Iron Man every day. Like it is taking a toll on his life. In the movies, it kind of just approached it as he's only Iron Man when like a big thing happens already. But I think they really don't really just show how often he's like doing. He's really is he's Iron Man every day. Like he's always out and about.
Well, and
Yeah.
the thing that I wrote down in my notes was that, you're trying to kind of figure out, I think, in any team up movie, and for those that have watched our recap of Thunderbolts that just came out, there's always a main character despite the team up movie, right? And to me, in the Avengers, Tony Stark is the main character.
Tony Stark, yeah.
He is that guy. Like, you might not have followed him at the beginning of the movie, but at the end of the movie, he is the one that got the Avengers together.
And I
Right.
think that's why they wait, because otherwise you'd be like fully focused on him, because obviously he was like the main lead of the MCU already. They kind of just wait.
I would like
introduce
to
him.
know everyone's favorite moment from the final fight.
Hulk when he's
there's
has
so
Loki and
many.
grabs him by the legs and just frickin' smacks him back and forth.
That
was
one's
awesome.
good.
Iconic.
I
Puny
like
God.
the captain one when he's like trying to tell the policeman like, "Hey, go do this." Set the perimeter.
Yeah.
They're like, "You're in a suit. Why am I going to listen to you?" And then he like goes, "Cap."
He
It
beats
gets
the hell out of
crazy.
some Chitauri.
And they're like, "All right, perimeter." Good, like all the walking. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's a good scene." But no, that
I-
whole New York is
I
unbelievable.
like the part where it's after Thor and Hulk have just beat the hell out of one of those giant flying worms, and they're sitting there like taking a break, and then Hulk just punches Thor off screen
Oh, yeah.
as hard as he can, because they're still beefing from that fight they had earlier.
For me, my favorite, to go back to that dialogue between Tony and Loki, like when Tony's going on and he's like saying, "There's no universe that you win. You may win this battle, you may take over Earth, but we'll be damn sure we avenge it." Like that gives me chills every single time he does that, and it like really sets precedence like that.
For what's going to happen.
Even at the end of the Avengers, you're not really sure if they're ever going to come back together, but Tony Stark really does like mean it. Like they're going to come back one day, whenever they need it.
What
I
about
really
you,
like that
Andreas?
one. I really like that one scene when Hawkeye like runs out of arrows and then he like pulls one more, shoots it at Loki, and Loki catches it, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And then it blows up, and I was like, "Yeah, like, got him."
I would say mine was start with the missile. Like I remember everything about the missile. I remember how incredible that moment is, the quietness of it, how great it looks.
The
What I
fall,
didn't
when
remember,
he's just...
what I didn't remember is Jarvis going, "Oh, should we call Mrs. Potts?" And he goes, "Yeah, might as well." And then she doesn't answer. And I think it really, like I said, that parallel between Cap and him, of just, you're pretty sure that if Cap stayed in the past,
Oh.
Peggy and him were certain. You know what I mean? With that last conversation, you're like dead set that, oh, that would have worked out between them. And then from that date thing in the beginning, they have their date at the start of the movie. Like this isn't like you're saying, Iron Man is the main character. So he has his date at the beginning, and at the end she doesn't answer. So it really leaves the ambiguity of like, well, she's watching the TV, she obviously cares about him, but they don't get that conversation, and it really, really isolates him when he's in space. And there's nothing. You'd expect it to be like oh yeah, this is the last round trip, you know what I mean? And you get that talk with Cap. But like in that last moment, it's just quiet. He has no one there to really relate to him, to see what he saw. And
That's a
I just
really
thought
good
that
point,
comparison.
I never
Brody,
thought
you
about
are,
that because
you
they
are,
do
you
that.
are such a
awesome.
smart cookie. That is, I have never
Yeah.
once thought like the parallels of that's such a, I've never even noticed that. Like at the end of Captain America, when he's crashing his sacrifice mission, he has all of his friends there to like, that's wow.
Nukes
Yeah.
going to New York at the end of First Avenger, and that's also the difference. Is the nukes are dropped by the government, not really just America, but by the government that Cap's working for. So I think that really sets up Cap's next movies. You know what I mean? Where he's starting to question these things because it's not just the bad guys being bad. There's people on his own side doing this stuff, and even though he's not in a relation to that, what?
Ah, you're
It's
just
Cooking, you're cooking.
You're spitting.
I'm a big Cap
You
fan.
are spitting.
So to
Yeah.
see the Cap stuff paralleled with Tony's is just amazing here because, like, obviously, like Tony just explored greatly, and I've always been a Cap fan. So to really compare them side by side is so fascinating because, like, every character is like set up for like an amazing sequel, but it's not specific in this. They can kind of go anywhere with it. You know what I mean? Like Thor doesn't like say anything, but like he's going back to Asgard, so like they just set up everything that comes in the future so well.
And I think it's very obvious that this whole Cap versus Iron Man, just in terms of everything, not just like how they interact, but their characters, how just different they are in terms of everything, is huge for this first, I'd say, like first 10 years of the MCU. This whole Cap and Iron Man drama and like their attitude toward each other is very, very prominent in everything they're in together.
Right? And what's the difference between like Cap thinking he can take any fight, or like he'll fight to the very end, and Iron Man saying like thinking that he can take any fight? Like what's the difference between him being
excited
super
for that movie.
headstrong and Cap being like, oh, I'll do it because it's the right thing? Like what's the difference between that? Like, oh, I'll push myself to do it, or like I'll do it no matter what? Like they're both just so similar and yet so different. And it's really interesting.
Dude,
What were
Brody
you about
is
to say,
becoming
Carson?
so philosophical right
Brody's cooking.
It was like I was thinking about it the whole movie.
Did anyone see the Thunderbolts reference that they do in the New York
In the
scene?
now. Time. For whoever's listening, this is a massive spoiler warning. Carson, we also
Not
have somebody
really.
in here who is...
I haven't seen it, man.
It's not.
That's
It's not that big of a deal. You don't know what
what's
it
the
is?
reference? What was the
I don't
reference?
know.
No,
Are we
no,
cut-
I'm
are this
I'm not
being
gonna
cut- are you cutting
I'm not
this?
gonna allow you to
What?
say it.
But it's
Yeah,
in
I'm-
Avengers though.
It's not that big.
Text it to Ethan.
Text it to me.
Can I-
Somebody else talk.
Oh, my God. It's not that big.
Okay,
I have a question.
Dude,
This-
that,
I bet you
oh
have
yes,
to answer
Austin
why.
question. Austin question. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
I love Austin.
we
So
love it.
did when Loki got banished, he went to this space shadow realm with the Tesseract, and that's
Yeah,
where he
with the
met
weird
the
guy with 10
Jahari,
fingers.
correct? Yes, 10
Jahar-
10 fingers.
Chitauri.
Jatari.
Chitauri.
Sorry, I wrote it down so weird.
It's okay,
I don't know
it's
why.
okay, it's
Yeah,
okay.
Jatari.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
All right, while we wait for Carson and
wait, what was
Ethan,
that? Was that your question?
I just didn't understand if that's just
Yeah, so,
chilling
okay,
in this
so the way-
space shadow
yeah.
realm.
He like fell out of space and he's like in space. And then this guy grabs it. Did you watch the end credit scene?
Yes, I did, and
So you see
Dude.
Thanos.
dude, he looks terrible. That guy looks awful. The
It was
CG is
2012.
Oh my God.
It's purple.
He's
Never
just
mind.
purple
It doesn't
in
matter.
He's
2012.
so no, he's so purple, like so purple. He looks awful.
But yeah,
With
I
the
guess
vibrancy
Thanos found
of
and gave me
the
this mission.
Ethan.
He can't say it. Ethan said no.
He
What
doesn't,
dude,
doesn't
that
remember
moment-
it.
That moment
Let me
in the
take- I'll
MCU,
take my po- I'll
or
take my
the
AirPods
final
off.
fight, that
I'll
moment in
take
the final
my
fight where
headphones
all of the
off.
Avengers are together
doesn't
and we hear
affect-
the Avengers theme as the camera circles them is such a good
It's
moment.
so sick.
The most-
so
Oh,
sick.
yeah.
Second, the second most
That-
iconic moment for the Avengers in the MCU.
Yeah, 5
What's
out of
the-
5 for iconic moments.
The
Oh,
first
yeah.
we can't say.
I
First
can't
is so
tell you the
good.
first one.
Okay.
Can I just say it?
Interesting. I don't even
No,
know.
you
what
can't
it
just
is.
say it, Carson.
Hey,
You can't just say
Yeah,
it.
you can say it, but I don't think it's a reference to Thunderbolts. I don't
No,
want
it's
you
not
to
a re-
allude.
They just do the exact
Fine,
same
say it.
thing. So
Okay.
it's when
they stand
Cap is
there.
like holding the shield, and
Oh,
then
whoa,
Natasha pushes off the shield.
Oh,
Yes,
the
yes,
jump.
yes, yes. We
The jump.
later
What?
see some foreshadowing later. That yes,
Yeah,
I
Spider-Man
understand.
does
That's-
that. Spider-Man does that too in Far From Home.
With
Hey.
the webs.
I feel like that's
All
just
right.
a common like.
So wait,
Don't be
let's
mean.
talk about the end credit scene a little bit more. So we see.
wait.
Oh, Andres, go ahead.
Andreas says more.
All right. because of Carson just brought up that fighting move being similar to another movie, let me just bring up Black Widow.
Spoiler
fighting-
warning. Spoiler warning.
No, this isn't a spoiler
what?
warning.
Oh.
When Black Widow was fighting Clint when he was under the impression of the scepter, and Clint drops throws his knife to his other hand. Yo, if there's any Game of Thrones listeners out there, that's the same move that Arya used to beat the Frost King. Just wanted to throw that out there.
What a
Brody,
sword
have you
user
seen Game of
first.
Thrones?
I have not. I'm just nodding politely.
You guys need to
Politely.
What a good podcast.
This guy's funny.
same move. But continue, Braun.
All right, so
Does Austin have
Thanos-
any more plot questions?
yeah, let's answer Austin's questions first before we finish talking about the end credits. scenes.
Let's see here.
Oh, you
I don't
wrote it
think
down.
so. You
okay.
continue, and I will bring something up.
Okay,
Wait,
so
are we talking about the end credit, or can we still talk about the movie?
if you want to talk about the movie,
Your
go
call.
ahead.
Okay, so I was gonna say one thing is I don't know if this was like how much it was on purpose, but this movie blends the styles of the previous movies so well, because like with Banner stuff, it's like I don't know, like the high contrast is amazing. It reminded me of Thor a lot, where like it's not just like warm colors, like the red is like still super bright, like just the colors of the suits look like amazing with Cap and stuff. We got like the cool flying stuff from Iron Man. Like every shot of Iron Man feels like it's from an Iron Man movie, pretty much. And then like Thor and Cap have like slow motion shots, which they got in their movie. So I thought it's cool that they had like a side by side slow motion shot together when it catches the shield, and then it speeds back up. But like there's a shot where Cap like runs and jumps off that or lands on that bus, and it's like exploding behind him. And it looks just like in the first Avenger when he's attacking that first like Hydra base with the explosion behind him on the motorcycle. So I just thought the blending of the styles was really good.
Iron Man's introduction in the beginning is so cool. When it starts playing the AC/DC song, and he's like, "Hey, Age Romanoff, do you miss me?" And then he comes like flying in and he lands and just like blasts Loki with the repulsors. He goes flying back.
And whether
even
it was
before that, Stark Tower.
say it again.
I was just gonna say Stark Tower, like just being a prominent thing, and how they end it with just the A being there. Like
Yeah.
that's just a great like
I love that.
thread from beginning to end.
Ethan, I was thinking about this when I watched it. Did you notice any Dutch angles in this one?
I did.
There's only not as many. Not nearly
There
as
weren't
many.
There
As
weren't
in
as many,
Thor.
but they did happen.
I walked into the living room right before we started
When-
recording this. My dad was watching Thor, and I made sure to point out how many Dutch angles there were.
Where were the Dutch angles in this one? I'm forgetting.
It was like
Was
when
it
they were in
with
the
Thor and
forest,
Loki?
right?
Oh yeah,
But
I
the
think there
Clint
was a
scene's
few there
so
between
bad.
them.
What,
What did you say,
Carson?
Carson?
The Clint scene where they're like, move. I'm like,
When he
dude,
wakes up,
please
no, it's
stop.
so fire.
No, it's awful.
Who wanted
All right,
shawarma
so-
after this one?
Yeah. So, Austin, do you know about the shawarma scene? About how they shot it?
It's just
What do you
shawarma, dude. What are you
No.
talking about?
So when
When
the
they filmed
movie
it.
when the movie premiered at the red carpet, it had one end credit scene. After the premiere, they all got back together. Like this was probably a week before it hit
filmed
publicly in the
day.
theaters.
Or
They
like
got back
the day.
together after they saw the movie on the red carpet and shot the end credit scene for shawarma.
They were all together for the premiere, and that's
Mhm.
why Cap's hand is like this. He had facial hair at the time, so Cap's back here and he's not eating food because he's covering his beard.
That's
But like that's how they
crazy.
got all the actors together was because they were all at the
Really?
premiere.
Oh, that's pretty
Wow.
cool.
The
Yeah,
night,
so
that
when
was
they-
really cool.
when they were
The
when they were
next
at the
day,
red
that night.
when they were at the red carpet, Kevin Feige goes, "We're actually not done shooting," and everybody's like, "What?"
And that created a problem because the paparazzi, obviously after that, was like, where are these actors going? They all left at the same time. Because
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was that exact night, but that's
May have
how
been
like
the
there were
next
tons
day.
of rumors about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was because they're like, oh, we're not done filming, which they shouldn't have said because then everyone was like trying to figure out what they were doing.
Yeah, this movie's so good. It did so well for my category scoring.
What was your
Iconic
highest
5
score in the category?
Sound iconic, but sound and score got a 4.5. Rewatchability got a 4.5. I did give story a 3.5. I give it a little bit of a knock because as much as I do love Loki, it does seem a little weird.
Yeah.
What do you mean weird?
Mustache twirling
not a
villain, bro.
villain.
It's just
What do you
let's
mean,
take
man? What do you mean
over.
mustache twirling?
Dude, okay,
No.
he's just like, let's
No.
take over Earth.
No.
Why?
Oh,
Why
I
does he
can't-
want to take
you know
over
what?
Earth? There's no.
I don't
Do you
know.
see Thor?
Andres,
I don't know.
Thor's
I
like,
don't-
Bro,
I
why do you
don't-
want to even take this over?
Because his whole life, Austin, he's been the younger brother from Thor who has nothing. His whole
And he
life,
has
his
the
dad's
deal.
been wielding the throne in front of him. Like, hey, Loki, you want the throne one day? Yeah, you can have it, buddy. No, hey, by the way, Thor, look at stupid ass Loki's never getting the throne. It's all he's ever wanted his whole life is to rule anything because he's a god.
And that's also a great thing is that first scene when there's that elderly man that stands up to him is I was so thinking like, oh, and Loki said he's like talking to Odin. You know what I mean? Like that was my headcanon thing is I was like, oh, he's totally like, he really doesn't like these people telling him the way things should be. So like that's what I thought with that scene.
I can't talk too much about the character of Loki without explaining what hasn't happened yet. I'm not going to do that at all because this is such a good character.
I know.
But
I only dropped
to say
one
that
more-
he's a mustache twirling villain in the
Dude,
first
he
Avengers
gives
is not
zero
What does that
true.
even mean?
reason.
No,
It's just
no.
like
Mustache twirling is evil to be evil. Like, I'm going to steal your oil.
Loki is,
Yeah.
man.
No, he's
Okay.
not.
Okay,
Just
right,
wait.
let me
Just wait.
defend my case. Listen, I'm not saying it's a bad story. I just think the randomness of the Chitauri is weird. That's really all my point is.
like they
It's-
should have been introduced earlier in
the
the
sh-
MCU or what do you
Like,
mean?
It's
okay,
okay. It's
No,
the
no, no, no,
Chitauri
no.
are just-
Let me
okay.
finish. Let me finish.
Oh, because it's. I don't want to.
If Loki brought everybody from the Jotunheim and brought Frost Giants, it would make
Yeah.
full circle moment. But we just saw the
Yeah.
Frost Giants.
It's not
No?
about that.
More
It's
than
about
that.
it's about Thanos's because Thanos sent them. It's about Thanos.
But you don't know that. But why?
You do
My
know
point
that.
is you
find
no,
out
you
in the
don't.
end credit scene.
We don't know
You find out-
Thanos, but we know the 12-fingered dude is, set to fall up.
You find out in the end credit scene that Thanos is involved. But
But I
the end
don't
credit
think
scene
it could
is
have been.
the end credit scene is 12-finger guy talking to Thanos. Correct.
Yes.
And you know that guy sent Loki, and that guy's talking about his plan to that guy. It's about Thanos' underestimate of the power of the humans. He thinks he can send in Chitauri, this disgraceful joke of a race, to take out this planet, and it fails. But it already lays this idea that Thanos just already thinks that humans are ants. Loki says it at the very start. The ant does not concern himself with, or the ant has no quarrel with the boot. That Thanos thinks the same way, and Thanos' underestimate of the human willpower is like obviously very, very, very important for the whole Infinity Saga. It is the whole overarching reason that it ends the way it ends, and this is the very
And
start of that.
I don't think it could have been the Frost Giants because I think
It
we're
needed to
supposed
show
feel
that
gap
Thanos
that
thinks
he
they're
doesn't even
weak.
have a home.
Wait, Brody, what did you say?
Well, I was gonna say like Loki finds out that he's a Frost Giant, but he hasn't lived there his whole life. He doesn't know anyone there. Like he can't just be friends with them instantly. You know what I mean? Just because he
Well,
finds
then-
out he's one of them.
Well, then how did he become friends with 12-fingered dude and Thanos instantly? in
He
the
just
Chitauri?
he was falling in space because
Well, I'm
Thanos
just
gave
saying
him a
he
job.
already- Story-wise, you
He
can't
had-
have him just
yeah.
like fall back on the Frost Giants after he's banished from Asgard. It just wouldn't make sense to be like, oh, he's got his own people. You know what I mean?
He also delivers that line when Thor says, "Brother, come home." He goes, "I have no home."
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
very
think
powerful
Loki
to show where
overreact.
Loki's at the time. No, he didn't overreact. What is this overreact? What does he overreact on?
Dude, you're acting like he was like tortured and abused. Like he was raised in like royalty, and then like he just didn't get the throne because of his elder brother. Like that's a normal thing.
He was lied to about being
he
stolen
was
from
li-
his planet as a pawn to create peace.
Yes, he was.
You guys gotta rewatch
adopted.
it.
He was
You guys gotta rewatch
banished
Thor.
from his home, pushed from his brother out to fall into space.
Womp
Dude,
womp.
left to
Dude
die.
literally
Let him
says
go.
he's a
You let
god.
go.
He is
You
a
let go.
god.
I'm not saying his reasoning makes sense and is ethically correct.
He
I'm
just
saying
wants
he
power.
has reasoning.
Yeah.
He wants to rule. Thanos gives him this opportunity to rule.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
his
fair.
deal isn't
All-
just for Earth.
All
Because he
Loki
talks
ever
about-
wants is a throne. That's all he ever
Hold on.
wants.
Philosopher Brody has a point to make.
Yes.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, they have a deal worked out. Like that's what that first meeting is when he like the world like changes around him and he's like in space again, and he's talking with them, and he's like, "Oh, if you don't bring us the Tesseract, we don't bring our people." Like they have this worked out, where Loki's obviously promised a high position, whether he was ever going to get it or not, if it was just a tool to get him to do stuff. But he was just promised power and ruling, and he thinks that'll fix the void of when he left Asgard. So I don't know. I just think there's a larger deal that isn't like explained here. You know what I mean? Where
I think it does.
He just keeps talking with him.
Loki's character has. This is simply just the start of so much more growth going forward. Where if you were to isolate it as just this Avengers movie, I could kind of see why you may think he's a little mustache twirly. But it's just, I know it sucks to not retroactively know it. Oh yeah, don't react like that, Ethan. I see you. Okay. Well, I came around. I cooled off, and I came around.
There we go.
But if you isolate the Avengers movie, I can see where I think it's missed. I still think it's wrong and dumb to think that, but I can see why you think he's a little mustache twirly. But it's just there's so much to this character, and this really is such a good base for it. This and Thor really do show why he's the way he is.
And
All right.
in terms of the stakes, oh sorry,
No, go ahead,
I was
buddy.
going to continue the story and stakes. I was just going to say, I like that they focused on New York so much throughout the whole movie, just because obviously the world's at risk, a lot's at risk, but they're not like cutting around to where like you can't even comprehend the scale of it. I think the focus of just having the portal above New York really focused the scale. You know what I mean? Where you can actually like ground it and believe the threat. That was just all I was gonna say.
It was worse than 9/11. If we're talking stakes, that was worse than 9/11.
I think it's time to move on.
I'm just saying.
All right.
Let's take over.
I've, regardless
Damn
of
it.
my small criticism of the Avengers, we all basically gave it 20 plus points and above. So, fantastic movie. I've loved talking about it. Brody makes a good point. Talking about the one shot item 47. I think this, my take of item 47 is this does a great job of showing how the world has been changed by the Battle of New York. Right? There is a precedent set now that that battle was 45 minutes. These aliens nearly could have taken over their whole world in a matter of hours, and then they left just like nothing happened. And you have all these remnants that were picked up by Shield, but there's these little parts that people are so confused on what's happening. And I mean, if that were to happen in our world today, there would be so many questions. And I think this one shot does a great job of encapsulating how real world it would be. Right? There would be bank robbers that took this alien Chitauri tech and just start blowing stuff up.
Only the world got introduced not only to aliens within 30 minutes to them taking over New York, to all of a sudden there's aliens and there's this group of powered human beings protecting us now. These are Earth's protectors
Avengers.
all of a sudden. And you see at the very end in those it's this where the Stan Lee cameo comes up in the Avengers.
Yeah.
All of those news articles, they're like, "Oh, I love Captain America. He's my hero." It's all the people getting introduced to the Avengers.
And there's the people saying, "Oh, where are they now? Now that they've destroyed all this stuff."
And I think with item 47 does that a great job. Is it really does show you where they're at now, how the world has changed. It's actually I think this is one of probably the best one shot in terms of direction. I don't know. I thought it was funny. It was direct. I thought it was fun. It looked fine. It was cool.
I enjoyed it a lot, and I think it does provide great context too for the future. We talked about this a little bit, but we got official confirmation, I think, that Agent Sitwell has taken over Coulson's job.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who's his boss? And the older guy.
Dude, he's from Lost. Shout out Lost. From all my Lost fans out there.
I don't.
Yeah.
Do they ever say his name?
No, I don't think he never shows up ever again.
Oh well, he calls Agent Sitwell Agent Coulson, so that was nice.
Probably made Austin mad.
Yeah, drives the knife deeper.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. Shield would have killed those two people. I don't know why they don't. I know it's a Marvel thing. Haha. But I watched Agents of Shield and I think they would have.
But Agents
Dispatched.
of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not canon.
I know,
Not
but they don't do
canon.
that. But Shield
Not
is this government organization. They're not gonna make those two people agents. They're gonna dispatch them.
Hey, I had a great theory watching this one shot. It does. Okay, So Sitwell is the one who brought them on to his team, right?
Yeah. Don't spoil anything.
Yeah.
Yep. I caught his
spoil
ass
it.
right there.
Yeah.
I knew it. I got him right there.
I see, because I wasn't gonna spoil anything, but
I
like,
know. I know what you're gonna say.
like, you can like see some foreshadowing.
Yeah, I understand.
Like, he
I
wants
don't
to use
understand. I don't
them.
want to understand.
No, you'll.
We'll stop talking about
You'll
this.
see.
Anybody else have other
I was-
thoughts on item 47?
Very
we gotta
good.
do the-
Very,
I
very
thought it
good.
was good.
Let's go around the table. Get thumbs up, thumbs down on 3. 1, 2, 3.
For the
Big
whole
ol'
thing,
thumbs
or-
up.
I mean,
It's-
obviously, it's
I thought this was good.
Thumbs up for Avengers.
All right, everybody. Let's take a breather here. We have just completed part 1. Let's give ourselves a round of applause, everybody. We have made it through the
Wow.
first part. We only have 9 more parts to go.
Oh God.
Holy.
Hey,
Hey,
this
all
is
my
where
haters.
this is who you're
I never
haters.
missed
You looking
an
at me?
episode.
Yeah,
I never missed an
that's true.
episode.
Oh,
Alright,
I never missed
I-
one.
No,
Did
I
I miss
missed one. I missed one. I missed one.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
So-
yeah,
missed one.
crucify me. Crucify me.
So as we move on to part 2, there's going to be some new aspects to this. So if we weren't locked in before, you got to lock in now. I'm going to
Boys
do
become
the
men.
grand. I'm going to do the grand reveal for part 2. So listen up. After I go through the whole part 2, I'll give you guys what our specific assignment is for next week. So we're going to start with Thor: The Dark World. That's our first project. Then Iron Man 3.
Oh yeah.
Another one shot, All Hail the King, followed by Captain America the Winter Soldier. Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I Am Groot Season 1 and 2. And here's where we got to lock in with new aspects. we have our first TV show, Daredevil Season 1. Also, Jessica Jones Season 1. And we are capping this off with Avengers Age of Ultron. Let's hear your thoughts.
I am so excited. This is Winter Soldier, one of my favorite Marvel projects.
So, I want everybody to go around the table, pick one project they're looking forward to, but please do not talk about the project in depth.
Go ahead,
can I
Wyatt.
say
Start us
3?
off.
Can I say 3?
No.
Can I just say 3 with that? Okay. Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Daredevil.
Gotta.
I'm excited.
Which one of those 3, Wyatt? Which one?
I'm excited. I'm most excited to watch Winter Soldier and do the Winter Soldier episode, but I'm most excited to have you guys experience Daredevil.
Okay, fair.
Carson?
Probably Guardians of the Galaxy. I normally would say Cap because he's my favorite, but I haven't seen that movie in a while. And then I am excited for Daredevil. I have not watched the new show. And I did like his character in No Way Home. Oh.
Wow.
Austin, we'll do you last, Brody.
No!
I gotta go with Guardians too. I'm gonna be defending the hell out of that movie.
I'm very excited for Captain America: Winter Soldier. I love that movie. I really want to talk about Tony Stark and. Well, are we not supposed to like talk about the movie at all?
Just
He's not in that one.
just
I'm
keep your
excited to
thoughts.
analyze
Like,
it.
that's even
I'm
wrong.
excited to analyze it.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna go, and then Austin will hear you because this is not really a rewatch for you. This is kind of a first time. All right, I'm excited for Thor: The Dark World, but hear me out. Hear me out.
No, brother. This guy stinks.
I have not seen this movie in years, and I'm excited to see where it is on my hatred level compared to The Incredible Hulk, because The Incredible
How
Hulk
bad it is.
was way worse than I remember it being, and I remember Thor: The Dark World being awful. So I'm curious to see like where it lines up compared to the last time I remember watching.
I mean, there's like.
Ethan, we had this exact conversation before the Hulk episode, and then I get a phone call from you after you watch the movie to tell me how wrong we were and how terrible the Hulk still is. And I can already guarantee you it's about to happen with Thor: The Dark World.
Last time I watched Thor: The Dark World, I liked it, so I'm interested. How
Well,
it's gonna go?
All right, Austin, go ahead.
I am excited for Age of Ultron because I don't think I've ever watched it all the way through, and if I have, it's probably been like 10 years plus.
Dude, I love that one. It's good.
And watching
it gets hate.
Avengers really for the first time. That just, it made my understanding so much better because I've watched sporadically everything, just not all together. So I'm excited to see how this all wraps
No
together.
one's excited for Jessica Jones.
I
don't
am
know
excited for the
anything about the
Netflix
guy.
shows.
I don't know anything about her.
So this does have the same amount of projects as the first part. The first part we completed in, holy cow, can you guys believe it's been 5 weeks already?
That's it.
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
So this one we will probably be done in 4 weeks. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. We're on the train now, guys. Where there's no going
I have a
back.
proposition.
I'll listen.
If we, everyone out there, if we hit 1,000 subscribers before Age of Ultron, you have to show up to the episode in costume for Age of Ultron.
Oh God.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
deal.
Whatever.
Okay.
Deal.
It doesn't have to be like a nice costume, but it can be a crappy Party City costume.
Deal.
But if we had 1,000 subscribers, you got to show up dressed as an Avenger.
Deal.
I like it.
Okay. Yep. If we hit 1,000 subs.
So, are we just
Hold
Thor:
on.
Dark
So
World?
yeah, I'm gonna let you know. Just hold on. So for our first assignment, we've got Thor: The Dark World, Iron Man 3, and capping it off with All Hail the King. So that's our first assignment. We will be back here in a week to talk about it. That's going to do it for this episode of The Sacred Rewatch. We hope you enjoyed diving back into the timeline with us. New recap episodes are coming out every week leading up to Avengers Doomsday. We're getting that much closer, guys. Wherever you are in the multiverse, thanks for making The Sacred Rewatch part of your journey. See you guys.